Hello students, welcome to AIMS India online classes. This is a chemist session. Here we are discussing about the chapter combustion, fuels and flame. In this session we are going to say about different types of combustion. Combustion can be classified according to the rate of speed at which combustible substances burn into different categories. So let us see what are the different types of combustions now. One among them is slow combustion. It takes place at moderate speed. For example, burning of wood, candle, coal, etc. These substances burn at a moderate speed. They won't burn faster. They take certain time for the completion of burning, isn't it? Such kind of combustion which is occurring at moderate speed is called slow combustion. In this slow process of combustion, fuel is not completely burnt up. The result is the production of smoke containing unburnt carbon particles. I think you might have observed this. When a wood log is burnt, it burns slowly and it produces smoke containing some unburnt carbon particles with the black soot, isn't it? So this is a slow combustion. In few cases, the rate of combustion is very slow. Some they occur at moderate speed, and some of the combustions they occur at very slow rate. These all will come under slow combustion reactions. Combustion is basically an oxidation reaction accompanies with the evolution of large amount of heat or light or both light and heat. Okay, so here we can say combustion is basically oxidation of certain chemical substances which we call as fuels. They undergo oxidation in the chemical combustion process. So we can say combustion is basically an oxidation reaction which is accompanied with the evolution of large amount of heat energy and sometimes light energy, and sometimes both of these light and heat will be emitted in the combustion process. For example, rusting of iron for the slow combustion reaction. You can say rusting of iron is one of the example for slow combustion reaction which occurs at a moderate speed. When iron object is exposed to air in the presence of moisture to form rust, which is called as iron oxide. So that iron oxide is called rust. This formation of iron oxide or rust on the surface of iron objects will take few days. It won't occur within seconds. It takes certain time. Such kind of reactions are called as slow combustion reactions. So combustion is nothing but oxidation of a substance. Generally here fuel. Fuel will be oxidized. So the oxidation of the substances with the evolution of heat or light or both is called combustion reaction. So the same happening in the case of rusting of iron also. What's happening here? When iron objects are kept outside in the presence of moisture, these iron objects react with atmospheric oxygen and thus they become oxidized and form iron oxide, which we call this iron oxide as rust. See, on the iron objects, these brown colored spots are because of the formation of iron oxide. Means iron is oxidized here. Okay, this iron oxide is called rust. This process occurs at a very slow rate. So this is a reaction which is occurring in the rusting process. So the iron object kept in the atmospheric air in the presence of moisture, this reacts with the iron and forms iron oxide along with the moisture. This is called hydrated ferric oxide. This is a chemical name for rust, iron oxide. Hydrated ferric oxide. How it is formed? When iron is kept in the atmospheric air in the presence of moisture. Iron reacts with the oxygen in the presence of moisture and converts into respective oxide, that is iron oxide along with the moisture. That is called hydrated ferric oxide, which we commonly call as rust. Okay. From this we can say combustion is basically oxidation reaction which is accompanied with the evolution of heat and light. Next, rapid combustion. When the substance or a combustible substance or fuel, if it burns in a short span of time, means immediately if it burns, the combustion of the substance is almost complete and a large amount of heat and light is produced. Then that combustion process is called rapid combustion. When it is called, if the combustible substance burns within short span, immediately if it catches fire, and combustion if it is almost completes, means the combustible substance completely burns and a large amount of heat and light is produced, then that combustion is called rapid combustion. Okay, an internal combustion engine nominally operates on controlled rapid burn. When fuel and air mixture in an internal combustion engine explodes, that is known as detonation. What happens in that? Fuel and air they mix each other and starts exploding. That we can take as one of the examples for rapid combustion. This happens in the an internal combustion engine. This is also known as detonation. For examples for the rapid combustion are burning of LPG, burning of petroleum. These all we can take. Burning of petrol. So what happens in this? The substance or fuel like LPG or petrol, they catch fire immediately and within short span of time they burn and produce a large amount of heat and light, and the reaction comes to an end. That means complete fuel will be burnt, nothing will be remain back, isn't it? Such kind of combustions are said to be rapid combustions. See, this we see at our homes. LPG gas, which we call as liquefied petroleum gas, which we use at our homes for domestic purposes for cooking. Here what happens when LPG is ignited, within short span of time that catches fire and combustion occurs and produces large amount of heat and light energy. Such kind of combustions come under rapid combustions. Next one, spontaneous combustion. The combustion in which a material suddenly bursts into fire without the application of any apparent cause is known as spontaneous combustion. So in this type of combustion, the substance or combustible material suddenly bursts into fire without any application from outside, without any cause. Such kind of combustions are called as spontaneous combustions. There are some combustible substances that catch fire on their own when they are exposed to air. This phenomenon is known as spontaneous combustion. Yes, there are some chemical substances. They catch fire themselves, need not to give any application from other outsources. If it is kept in the atmospheric air, exposed to atmospheric air, it can catch fire itself and it starts combustion within seconds. Such kind of substances are called spontaneous combustible substances, and that phenomenon is said to be spontaneous combustion. For example, sodium has to be kept immersed always in kerosene. Whenever it is needed to use sodium, then only that will be taken out from the kerosene, and the needed portion of sodium will be taken, and remaining sodium will be immersed and preserved inside the kerosene. Because if sodium is exposed to open air, it catches fire on its own. Yes, if you take small piece of sodium and if it is kept in a watch glass or on a table, after few minutes, sodium reacts with atmospheric air and catches fire in its own. It burns in its own. Need not to give any temperature to it. Need not to give any flame to it. It starts burning itself. Such a type of combustion is said to be spontaneous combustion. That is why only sodium is always preserved under kerosene, because if sodium is kept outside, it catches fire on reaction with atmospheric air. Some other examples of such kind of substances which are having spontaneous combustion property are white phosphorus and potassium. These also, when they kept outside in the atmospheric air, they catch fire easily themselves and starts burning immediately. Okay, that is why these substances like sodium and potassium are stored under kerosene. Why not under water means sodium and potassium, even they react with the cold water also, they blast up. They react immediately, vigorously. That's why they are not stored even under water also. These metals like sodium and potassium are stored under kerosene. They won't react with the kerosene and they won't be in contact with atmospheric air, and hence they will be safe. If they come in contact with atmospheric air, they immediately catch up fire and they starts burning. So that's why these metals, sodium and potassium, are stored under kerosene, and certain other non-metal like white phosphorus. It also catches fire when it is exposed to air. That's why white phosphorus is preserved or stored underwater in order to prevent exposure to oxygen in the air. Okay, the combustion of these substances is said to be spontaneous combustion. See, when sodium exposed to atmospheric air, it burns and produces sodium oxide. In the same way, if it is a white phosphorus, it catches fire on reaction with atmospheric oxygen and forms phosphorus pentoxide and releases a certain amount of energy. These reactions occurs if they are exposed to air. That is why they will be always preserved under either kerosene or water. Metals like sodium and potassium are preserved under kerosene, whereas white phosphorus is preserved under water to avoid the contact with atmospheric oxygen. Okay. Another category of combustion is explosion. When on ignition of a substance such as crackers, a sudden reaction takes place with the release of heat, light, and evolution of large amount of gases. An explosion is said to be occur. Okay, such kind of reactions are said to be explosions. What happens on ignition of a substance that suddenly catches fire, and it releases large amount of heat, light, and evolution of large amount of gases, along with evolution of sometimes sound also. Those reactions are said to be explosion reactions. For example, bursting crackers. An explosion is a rapid increase in volume and release of energy in an extreme manner, usually with the generation of high temperatures and release of gases. So these explosion reactions are accompanied with large amounts of release of gases and a large amount of heat energy evolution, and even with sound also. These reactions are said to be combustion reactions said to be explosion reactions. They release even high temperatures also. Some examples for the explosion reactions are firecrackers or blowing up of dynamites. What happens when they are given ignition temperature? They catch fire suddenly and blast up. They release a enormous, huge amount of heat and light with evolution of large amount of gases. These reactions are said to be explosion reactions. Burning of or bursting of firecrackers, blowing up of dynamites, these all will come under explosion reactions. Depending on the amount of oxygen available for the combustion, these combustion reactions are also classified into two types. Okay, based upon the supply of oxygen also, combustion reactions are classified into two types. They are complete combustion reactions and incomplete combustion reactions. Let us see first about complete combustion reactions. The combustion reaction in which the combustible material is completely burnt to form its oxide in the presence of excess or sufficient amount of oxygen is called complete combustion. What is that? Sorry. The combustion reaction in which the fuel or the combustible material is completely burnt to form its oxide in the presence of excess or sufficient amount of oxygen. Then that combustion is said to be complete combustion. For example, carbon burns in excess of oxygen giving carbon dioxide. Suppose if we take carbon in the form of coal or charcoal, if it is burnt in the sufficient amount of oxygen or excess amount of oxygen, then carbon burns completely and produces carbon dioxide. This reaction occurs. Carbon completely burns in the presence of oxygen and forms carbon dioxide. Okay, this is called complete combustion reaction. The carbon taken completely converts into carbon dioxide because there is sufficient amount of oxygen for the combustion here. Another case is incomplete combustion. If the combustion reaction which takes place in the presence of limited supply of oxygen is called incomplete combustion. So if there is a no limit excess amount of oxygen, sufficient amount of oxygen, then that combustion occurring then is called incomplete combustion. The combustion reaction which is taking place in the presence of limited supply of oxygen, limited quantity of oxygen or insufficient amount of oxygen is called incomplete combustion. For example, carbon burns in limited supply of oxygen to form carbon monoxide. So if there is a sufficient amount of oxygen, then carbon forms carbon dioxide on complete combustion. But here, if there is no sufficient amount of oxygen, then that in the presence of limited supply of oxygen, carbon burns and produces carbon monoxide instead of carbon dioxide. This reaction is said to be incomplete combustion reaction. Because for the complete combustion of the fuel, there is no sufficient amount of oxygen. There is limited quantity of oxygen. That is why it undergoes incomplete combustion and forms carbon monoxide instead of carbon dioxide. Okay. Now let us see the controlling of fire. How to control the fire. Sometimes homes, forests, shops, etc. they may catch fire. In such cases, it becomes necessary to put off the fire. Otherwise, it may cause a huge monetary loss and the loss of lives also. Isn't it? So, it is to be controlled immediately. Otherwise, it may cause much damage to the equipment as well as to the lives also. So, fire brigade or firemen are experts in controlling fire by using fire extinguishers. To extinguish fire, at least any one out of these three essential conditions for combustion must be removed. So, for the combustion of a substance, there are three essential conditions. In the presence of these three essential conditions only, combustion of a material will be continued. So, if you remove any one of these three conditionals, essential conditions, then that fire will be extinguished. Those three essential conditions are: one is supply of fuel. If there is fuel in the sense here, combustible material, whatever it is catching fire. Second one is supply of air, because fuel will continue to burn only in the presence of air. We have studied this, isn't it? Oxygen is necessary for the combustion of fuels. So if you cut the supply of air, then also fire will be put off. If you cut the supply of fuel, then also fire will be extinguished. And the third condition is ignition temperature. What is meant by ignition temperature? The temperature at which a substance starts catching fire. The minimum temperature at which a substance starts catching fire and continues to burn is called its ignition temperature. If you if you increase the ignition temperature, then the fire will be extinguished. That is, substance may not catch fire easily. So by controlling one of these three conditions, we can control firing. We can extinguish the firing. Now let us see how to cut one of the supplies of these three by using a fire extinguisher. Water is one of the best, cheapest, and oldest fire extinguisher, isn't it? Because it is available in the plenty and it is cheapest and it was there from long back in the use. By pouring water over the combustible material, the temperature can be cooled down. Cooling down brings the combustible material below their ignition temperature. In addition to this, water vapor surrounds the combustible material, which stops the supply of oxygen. So here, 2 points we have to observe. When water is poured on the combustible material, now the combustible material's temperature is brought down. It is cooled down. By this, its ignition temperature, the temperature of the substance brought down to its ignition temperature. If it is not reaching its ignition temperature, it won't catch fire. At the same time, what is happening one more? The water vapor produced from this water surrounds the combustible material and forms like a blanket. So this water vapor stops the supply of oxygen or air which supports the combustion. So because of these two, removal of these two conditions puts off the fire. In that way, water is used as fire extinguisher in controlling the combustion. But controlling fire when electrical equipment is on fire. Water cannot be used. Water is not suitable in the case when electrical equipment or oil catches the fire. In the case of electrical equipment on fire, pouring water over them may prove disastrous because we know normal water is a good conductor of electricity, isn't it? So it may conduct electricity and can harm the persons who are trying to control the fire. That's why we should not use water for controlling fire, which is because of the electrical equipment which are on fire. There we should not use for controlling fire. We should not use water for controlling fire. Now how to control the fire in case of oil, petrol, etc. Water is being heavier than oil. So what happens when you pour water on the oil? Oil will float on the water because it is lighter in density than water. Water goes down immediately. So oil will float on water and it continues to burn. It comes to top and keeps on burning. It won't be stopped. So there is no use of using water in case of oil or petrol burning. So in case of electrical equipments on fire and even the fire in case of oil or petrol also, water cannot be used for controlling fire. So what to be used then? Then we have to use carbon dioxide as fire extinguisher. Carbon dioxide does not support combustion and hence it is considered as best fire extinguisher. It can be used in those two cases. Carbon dioxide is heavier than air. We know its vapor density is being around 22, whereas the vapor density of normal atmospheric air is 14.4. So it is being more heavier than air. That's why carbon dioxide is being heavier than air, hence it covers the material which is burning. When carbon dioxide is poured on the material which is causing burning, it covers that material. By covering the material, the supply of oxygen is stopped. So the carbon dioxide covers that material which is burning. So when it covers, the supply of oxygen will be stopped. This puts off the further combustion and fire is controlled. Okay, this is a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher equipment. If the nozzle is pressed, carbon dioxide comes out from this nozzle, and if it is aimed at the fire causing material, then carbon dioxide will pour on the material and it forms a blanket around it and stops the supply of oxygen. Immediately fire comes to control. Under high pressure, carbon dioxide liquefies and takes less space because of compression. So the carbon dioxide is pressured in the cylinders in the liquid form. By applying high pressure, large quantity of our carbon dioxide is preserved in the cylinders, just like our LPG cylinders, which we are using at domestic purposes. Those also contain liquefied petroleum gas. In the same way here also, these fire extinguisher cylinders also contain carbon dioxide gas at high pressure, so that it will be liquefied and occupies less space. More quantity of carbon dioxide can be preserved in the same cylinder. Now, liquid carbon dioxide is stored in cylinders. A nozzle is attached with the cylinder to release the carbon dioxide. When the nozzle is opened, carbon dioxide starts coming out from the cylinder because of high pressure inside. It expands and covers the combustible material just like a blanket. See here, he is opening the nozzle. So the carbon dioxide rushes out and covers this combustible material just like a blanket, and it stops the supply of oxygen gas to that, and hence the fire controls. This cuts off the supply of oxygen to the combustible material. There is a stoppage of supply of oxygen, put off the fire. So this happens in the carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. One more kind of fire extinguisher is a soda acid fire extinguisher. Carbon dioxide liberated by the reaction of sulfuric acid with the sodium bicarbonate solution comes out with a stream of liquid water at high pressure. So instead of pouring directly carbon dioxide pressure in the cylinders, in some kind of fire extinguisher cylinders, they pressure two chemicals separately in two containers in that. So in this sodium bicarbonate solution is there, and in the middle of this cylinder there is one more bottle like equipment which is containing sulfuric acid. Now the when the nozzle is triggered, when the nozzle is pressed, now these two chemicals will mix at the nozzle and produces carbon dioxide that comes out. So when water puts off the fire by lowering the temperature of the combustible material below its ignition temperature, and the carbon dioxide cut off the supply of air to the combustible substance. So here two things are happening. Two necessary conditions are being avoided. One it is when water is coming out from this fire extinguisher, that lowers the temperature of the combustible material. Two, it's below its ignition temperature. So combustion will be put off. One more thing is this carbon dioxide coming from this in the form of foam. It covers the combustible material just like a blanket, and it's cut off the supply of air to that, and hence the fire will be controlled. Okay, in that way this soda acid fire extinguisher works. And even we can use sand, soil also as good fire extinguishers, particularly for burning oils. Because if oils are burning, there we cannot use water, we know, because oil floats on the water. Even though you pour water on the burning oils, oil comes to the top and continues to burn. In that case, we can use this soda acid fire extinguisher or carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. Even if these are not available at the place, we can use either sand or soil also as extinguishers. If you pour them on that, they form a layer like a blanket and stops the supply of air to that, and hence that fire will be put off. Okay, that's about fire extinguishers. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our YouTube channel AIMS Today and visit our website aimstoday.in for latest updates on recorded videos.